Absolutely. I mean, I don't think it's any surprise that this stuff is going on when Pride is literally promoted everywhere. We have a whole month dedicated to Pride, as we've seen in June, where the woke rainbow flag is literally everywhere, from roads to police to trains, and definitely inside classrooms as well, as you've seen by the Libs of TikTok Twitter account. And this isn't just promoted by individual woke teachers, it's promoted by the state. We've seen this through Mermaids, which is literally a trans child charity. Why is there such thing as a trans child charity? There shouldn't be trans children to begin with. We should be supporting these children who feel vulnerable, that they think they're a different gender. It's not a nice thing to go on puberty blockers and think you're, so inadequate that you need to change gender. These children need support. And if a teacher is literally confirming that a child is a cat, you have to think, what are they actually teaching in the school? As you said, what's their taxpayer money going toward? Teaching feelings are more important than facts. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, and lots of teachers are actually in state schools are teaching kids there are 72 genders or 92 genders or 107 genders, whatever the number is this week. That's not a scientific fact. These are theories, but they're being taught to children as facts. Now, children, there are, of course, 72 genders. No, there aren't. Certainly not a fact. Why is that being allowed to happen?
Well, I think a main thing is charities, like I said, with Mermaids and also Stonewall as well. The government are literally funding these charities, which are pushing forward a radical woke agenda. And then another thing as well, this is sort of a part of, the critical queer theory, critical gender theory, which is the promotion of academics like Judith Butler, for example, who thinks that gender is assigned at birth, very radical ideas like that. That is literally being promoted downstream towards school children as young as 13. And when the children seem to question this, they're met with hostility. The students who said that it was ridiculous that a student identified as a cat was met with such hostility by the teacher. I believe she called
despicable.
The despicable. Yeah,
because another pupil said that's crazy. To identify as a cat means that kid needs help. How dare you? That is despicable. And the teacher actually said to the kid who questioned it, you need to find yourself another school. And the teacher also went on to say there are 72 genders. So, you have a teacher imposing his own opinions, their own opinions on the pupils. They're just opinions, they're not facts. And calling some kid who questions someone identifying as a cat despicable. I mean, what is that about?
I think we've seen time and time again that children are victims of political correctness, and when these leftist teachers have to choose between siding with wokeness and siding with the student, they choose wokeness time again and time again. And this is very serious. It's not just the joking about identifying as a cat. It has serious ramifications with gender for young people who are on puberty blockers, but even outside of gender. We saw a few months ago when a child damaged a Quran, the community was, they had to be more concerned about community tensions than protecting the kid's safety. Despite receiving death threats, that's where the authorities' priorities lay. And we should be protecting our kids when kids question. I thought that's the point of school, to show rebellion, to show, questioning and curiosity. But that's shut down by the woke mob.
By the way, Jess, let's make this clear. This is not to disparage or diminish the importance of kids suffering from genuine gender dysphoria. Those people deserve our sympathy. They need to be taken seriously. They need to be helped. The trouble is that their condition, which has been receiving kind of what I might call a disproportionate amount of publicity, has opened the floodgates in schools for gender, or not just gender identity, self-identification. So you have kids standing up and saying they're mushrooms, and the teachers turning around to the other kids saying, this child is now a mushroom and you must take that seriously. I mean, a kind of insanity is descending on our classrooms, is it not?
I think, yes, there are genuine kids who have gender dysphoria, and again, depending on how that should be treated, I think, as Hannah Barnes' Time to Think book, which explored the Tavistock Clinic, where they have children going in with gender dysphoria, believing they're a different gender, and they're fast-tracked onto puberty blockers instead of given time to actually think, which basically consolidates their, literally fast tracks them on puberty blockers. So then they go down this path of gender affirmative surgery, which is like, you know, chopping off their bits and going forward with that kind of stuff. And we have to think of the impact this has on children. Is this the best thing? I personally don't think so. When hundreds or thousands of children are impacted by this, it's quite sad. I think it's sad if you don't feel good enough that you want to change gender. I don't think that's a good thing to happen, especially, and I don't know what the situation is with these children who identify as mushrooms or cats. I think it would be such a massive troll if they're like making fun of the teachers almost, but I'm worried if it's actually serious. Like, how do you identify as a cat? It's ridiculous, and I think that shows the ridiculousness of gender ideology and the fact that the teacher's doubling down on that. It's insane.
You've also had kids identifying as moons, you know, as in a moon, also dinosaurs, all sorts of animals. I mean, I think you're right, Jess. I think some of them are just taking the mickey, you know, they're having a good laugh. But some of them are probably serious. And as I say, there is this culture that is growing in schools among kids, you know, that the way you were born, you know, forget it, you know, you can be whatever you want. Well, that is not necessarily a good thing to tell a kid, is it?
I think we have to teach kids about facts over feelings. I know it's sort of an overstated thing, as Ben Shapiro's put, but, you know, facts do need to prioritise over feelings. I'm not against exploring things, but when teachers do when students do want to explore things, when they do want to question things, they're met with hostility, they're met with silencing, which is quite atrocious. I thought school was meant to be a place to learn. And I think teachers need to give guidance towards these students. You want to talk about the role between the state and the parent. I think part of this has to do with maybe broken households. You know, we've seen high levels of single parents. I think that must have an impact on children. But so they feel the need to gravitate towards, you know, things like TikTok, which affirm these ideas, promotes trans ideology with like Dylan Mulvaney, for example. And then the teachers who also, you know, without question affirm these identities of a moon, a mushroom, a cat. The list goes on.